Alright, this is going to be my first video. I'm going to be talking about Leif Erikson. If you have any notes or corrections, let me know. I'm happy to fix it or whatever. Alright. Born sometime during the 970s ACE, which is after Common Era, to Eric the Red, who was a Norse explorer from Norway, and his wife Sjausildor. Leif also had two brothers, Sorstein and Sorvald, and a sister, Freydis. Leif's birthplace was most likely Iceland, and Eric the Red was banished from Iceland in 986 and sailed west and discovered Greenland, and he went back to Iceland and grabbed his family and other people to go to Greenland and set up the first settlement. Théodered was one of Eric's thralls, which was a slave, and he was put in charge of Eric's children, including Leif. Leif later referred to Théodered as foster father. Leif was described in the Vinland sagas as a wise, considerate, and a strong man of striking appearance. Once he was at a proper age, Leif went to Norway to serve as a retainer to King Olaf Tryggvason. There, Leif fell in love with Thorgunna, who gave birth to the son Thorgils. At King Olaf's court, Leif was converted to Christianity. In both the saga of Eric the Red and Olaf Tryggvason's saga in Heimskringla, Leif was commissioned by the king to sail back to Greenland to convert the population to Christianity. Leif discovered Vinland, which I will be talking about in a second, but right now we're talking about this. Anyways, after making it to Greenland, he started on trying to convert people. Eric reacted coldly to abandoning his religion, which was most likely Norse mythology, but it's kind of called Asatru today, while his mother became a Christian and built a church. A different version of Olaf's saga found within Flateyjarbók makes no reference to Leif's discovery of Vinland and indicates that all of Greenland was converted, including Eric. The winter following Leif's return from Vinland, Eric died, sometime after 1000, making Leif a chief in Greenland. The last time Leif was mentioned alive was in 1018 in the saga of St. Olaf. According to the saga of the Sworn brothers, by 1025 the chieftaincy had been passed down to Leif's son Thorkel. Nothing is mentioned in the sagas about Leif's deaths. In both the saga of Eric the Red and the saga of the Greenlanders, probably written around sometime 1200, contain accounts of voyages to Vinland, coastal North America, but these works are regarded as works of literature rather than historical accounts, with many scholars debating their factual accuracy. When talking about strictly historical accounts, there is only brief mentions of Vinland in Adam of Bremen's historical treatise in 1075 in the Book of Icelanders, 1122. However, I won't talk about these as they were only passing references instead of a detailed account. According to the saga of Eric the Red, Leif discovered Vinland after being blown off course on his way from Norway to Greenland. Leif was going to Greenland to introduce Christianity to the Greenlanders when he had encountered a storm that blew him off course and found himself in Vinland. There, the crew discovered grapes, wheat, and maple trees. They then sailed east to Greenland, and apparently saved some shipwrecked sailors on the way. For this act, and for converting Greenland to Christianity, Leif had earned the nickname Leif the Lucky. Leif didn't return to Vinland, but others did, including Thorfinn Karlsson Senfi, another explorer. However, according to the saga of Greenlanders, Leif was in fact not the first European to discover Vinland. Instead, Bjarni Herjolfsson did during a voyage from Iceland to Greenland, where he and his crew missed Greenland due to wind and fog, and encountered an unknown coast. Realizing they didn't recognize the coast, they continued to sail and found two additional coasts that did not correspond with Greenland. After sailing back east, they told of their discoveries, but they didn't name it or anything. About 15 years later, Leif mounted an expedition towards the lands that Bjarni had described. Eric the Red was supposed to join him, but Eric had fallen off his horse, which was considered a bad omen of the time. Leif landed on a rocky place he called Helluland, flat rock land, believed to be Baffin Island or Labrador. Leif ventured further and found a forested place he named Markland, Forest Land, believed to be around Cape Porcupine in Labrador. Leif sailed for 2 more days before finding an island to the north, Bell Island. Leif returned back to the mainland, going past a cape on the north side, Cape Bald. They sailed to the west and landed in an area with a mild climate and salmon. There, Leif and his crew decided to set up camp and set out parties to explore the country. On one of these, Tyrker discovered loads of grapes, so Leif decided to name this land Vinland, which translates to wineland. There, they set up a settlement which was called Leifsburder, or Leifsbus, by later visitors from Greenland. Again, in this saga, on the voyage back, Leif rescued castaways and earned the nickname Leif the Lucky. Leif was most likely the first European to set foot in North America, but it's quite hard to know for sure since, most evidence has deteriorated or has gone missing, so we can't really tell for sure now. But I personally believe that Leif was indeed the first to discover it. That's just a personal belief, though it's kind of hard to tell. Most important points. Leif was most likely the first to discover North America, which is Vinland. Nickname was Leif the Lucky. Born around 970 and died between 1018 and 1025 ACE, which is after Common Era. Retinue for King Olaf Tryggvason was on the way to convert Greenland to Christianity when he discovered Vinland. Leif was the first to set up a settlement in North America, and he rescued castaways on the way back from Vinland. There you go. If you have suggestions, let me know. Hope you enjoyed. Quick end note, I'm sorry if I butchered any names or pronunciations. I don't speak Icelandic, which is closest to Old Norse, so I'm sorry if I did. I'm trying to learn, but it's going kind of rough. Anyways, hope you enjoyed. Have a good day. Also, sorry for grammar and quality. First video, grammar's just me, but you get it. Good day. See you later. Bye.